Headlines: Sibanye Gold's interim gold production increased and its costs fell. Chief Executive Neal Froneman joins us to have a closer look at the numbers. But the first story, the big story about Sibanye, is your shares going up while everybody else's share in the sector has been going down. 56% in the past year. That's pretty good going, Neal.
Yes, and it's very pleasing, but I think it's also on the back of, as we've been able to provide the market with guidance and results, they've recognized that there's potentially large earnings coming through. And of course today was a special day where we could declare a very decent final dividend.
As a new company listed in the market. But it must be interesting talking to you and your old pal Bernard Swanepoel, because he wanted to get his hands onto these assets that you're now running. I guess all those years ago he probably had a good idea and you now bring it to fruition.
I think we've all had a good idea. You know, we did due diligence on Driefontein as Gold 1, and we recognized the potential. I stuck up my hand. I actually volunteered for this job based on the potential that I saw. You know, and all credit to Nick for unbundling the assets because they required different focus, and I think that focus is delivering what you see today.
Was South Gold ever a possibility of coming into Sibanye? South Deep, rather.
You know what? It's a real quality asset. Certainly, we would put up our hands if it became available.
Looking at your gold reserves, those are also up by 46%, so quite a positive number. How much longer can you keep on mining for?
This is really the first pass, and for the layman, we had a 22 million ounce measured resource. Now, that's a resource category of high degree of confidence. We've only converted another 6 million out of that measured resource, which has taken our 13.5 million ounce reserve to just under 20, which is the increase you refer to. As I say, that's our first pass. This is a marathon, so over the next few years, I think you will see further increases, maybe not to the same extent per year. But the bottom line is, if you have reserves, they underpin your life of mine production profiles. Our biggest challenge right now is that our dividend yield of 5.5% is seen as probably required because we short life, and the message to the market is we're not short life, and therefore we should re-rate as they see life and extension of life.
Well, 1.5 million ounces a year at the moment, roughly, and 20 million ounces of mineable reserves. So you're at least 15 years to go.
Correct, and we've always said, but we haven't been able to demonstrate it, that we believe these assets have 15 to 20 years of life, and therefore I think we're in for a significant re-rating. The share price, as you've said, has run hard, but we're still undervalued compared to our peers on metrics like PE ratios, enterprise values per resource and production.
And that's under current mining or the current operating of mines. One would have thought that at some point in time, new technology, new opportunities are going to make many of those reserves that are presumably unworkable at the moment come into your radar.
They are. I personally don't believe they're really there in the short term. I think there are simple additions to mechanization underground. Certainly there's technologies being worked on by companies like Anglo Gold, and we are doing similar things but on a much smaller scale, and we really hope they work, because it'll open up huge amounts of reserves that are not mineable because they're dangerous and they're deep.
You're also recently in talks with Wits Gold to acquire one of their mines. How far are you in those discussions? We're
well advanced. The shareholder circulars have gone out. We've got Competition Commission approval. And in fact, for both our transactions, the acquisition of the Cook assets and Wits Gold, we're only waiting for the Section 11 approval from the DMR.
And what's Section 11?
It's a transfer of the mining rights to us, because they now sit in a different vehicle.
Once you secure those acquisitions, what does that do to your reserve base?
Well, they're certainly part of a life extension. The whole strategy around the acquisition of Wits Gold was really about securing the future of Beatrix. Wits Gold did have an option to acquire Burnstone, and that's in addition to securing the life of Beatrix, and something that we also find quite interesting.
These are, again, a good set of quarterlies that you brought out, as we said right in the beginning, the production going up, the reserves have been improved. But on the other side, we still have the labour issues. You've been outspoken.
Yes, and I continue to be outspoken. I think it's absolutely necessary. I think, first of all, we have to be firm with organised labour. In the past, we haven't been firm. We cannot, as the industry, make short-term decisions to avoid strikes. We've done that for too long, and you can see where the industry has ended up. It means we make unpopular decisions, and to ensure that we don't lose our employees in that process, we've really had to work very hard in terms of winning their hearts and minds in terms of the future of their jobs.
It's all about leadership, isn't it? Leadership's not easy.
It certainly isn't. Certainly under circumstances like this, where some of this is unpopular, it goes against the grain of government policies and so on. But it has to be said.
Neal, shareholders love you. 56% up when everyone else is falling out of bed. What are you able to tell them, or what have you been able to tell them with this release of these quarterlies that it'll keep them encouraged?
Well, I think the first and foremost issue is that we've delivered on exactly what we've promised. A year back, we said we're going to make Sibanye a benchmark gold yield vehicle. We are currently, even with the latest increases in the share price, we are sitting at yields that are well above the rest of the gold industry. And we had to do that by making sure the operations work well. Now, going forward, I think shareholders want to know that that dividend is sustainable. So, first of all, our commitment is to continue to focus on using our free cash to first of all pay dividends before we invest in capital projects. Any acquisitions that we make, and we are entrepreneurial, have to be earnings enhancing per share. Otherwise, we undermine our own dividend policy. And of course, I think fundamentally that's all based on a solid operating platform. And we've given them comfort in that. We have capacity to keep the mines running. We have separate capacity to grow the company. And our policies regarding dividends and our philosophies underpin the strategy of the company.
Neal Froneman, Chief Executive of Sibanye Gold.